Blessings, good evening. We just chanted the Noble Eightfold Path, which is always a good reminder of what we're practicing and developing in our daily life, following the Buddha and his example. And you'll notice everything is broken down into component parts, different qualities and properties, different aspects of what is right view, say the right view of the Four Noble Truths, splitting one's experience up into suffering, its cause, the cessation of suffering, the path, this very Noble Eightfold Path that leads to the end of suffering, or right intention, renunciation, non-ill will, non-cruelty or non-hatred, and so on. Every part of the Noble Eightfold Path is broken down into the different component parts. And that's very much the flavour of the Buddha's teachings, helping us to reflect on, partly just to explain what is what, how suffering works and where it comes from, and then this path that we're developing, what different aspects we need to develop, to look at, to develop. The idea is that by listening to the Dhamma, reading the Dhamma, even reciting or chanting the Dhamma, it helps train the mind to think with Dhamma, to understand it, penetrate it better, and to make us cleverer in the Dhamma, to make us wiser. Of course, all the different parts have to be practiced, and that takes time and effort and patience. And one of our biggest obstacles is we just lose patience, give up. One of the most common things you hear meditators say is, I'm thinking too much, I can't meditate, so they stop. And that's understandable, because thinking too much usually means we don't have much mindfulness or clear comprehension present. Maybe physically we are weak or ill or have some pain. Mentally, maybe something's come up in our life that's disturbing the mind. But it also means the different factors of the path are not there. Or not there in strong enough form, concentrated enough form to help bring the mind under our control as we practice. So it's just endless thinking and thinking, which wears us out and doesn't bring us much understanding or knowledge or peace. But still, we have no choice really but to, if we really want to progress in the path, to improve in our practice of the path, we have to keep coming back to it. Keep bringing up the beginner's mind, saying every time you're caught into endless thinking, the mind is disturbed, agitated, restless, seeking things, trying to get rid of things. We have to come back, start again, and be willing to do that. And not even to see that as a bad thing. Because often when we don't feel very happy with ourselves. We say, oh, I'm just a beginner, I can't control my mind. Maybe you've been practicing meditation or following Buddhism for a number of years or even your whole life, and you might feel like, I'm not getting anywhere, this is hopeless. And we blame ourselves. But you have to be willing to just keep coming back, to start again, back to the present moment, however many times it takes. Doesn't matter. And that's part of the practice, just setting aside those kind of judgments and views about our own practice and how bad we are or what's going wrong. And to see the value of just seeing every moment as a fresh moment. Fresh moment you can come back and re-establish mindfulness and abandon whatever it is that's disturbing you. Sometimes we have to use some wise reflection as well to help remind us what we're doing and maybe see what the problem is. Quite often we know what the problem is. There's a particular thing bothering us, some plan, something we're aiming at, just activities, events, things we've got to do next that we can't stop thinking about. If it's something pleasant, then it's usually the attractive features of that pulling us to think about it, imagine, create something. If it's something we're anxious about, well, then the fear and the dread and not wanting something that we have to face maybe. Or else pulling us back to the past, stuff that's already happened but we can't let go of, so it keeps coming up. The pleasant things that we want to retain or get back to, the unpleasant things we would like not to have to experience again, but they keep coming up, bothering us. But the Buddha encouraged us to see that putting forth effort, bringing up mindfulness is always useful, always beneficial. And sometimes we just have to keep going. Ajahn Chah used to talk about the monk that lit some incense in front of him and said, I'm going to meditate until the incense is burnt down, because he knew he was weak in his determination and his effort. He was likely to stop his meditation, get up. So he made a vow, I'm not going to get up until the incense is burnt down, which could be a good way of doing it, but then that monk just kept opening his eyes and checking, where's the incense, where's the incense? So instead of watching his own mind or putting effort into cultivating mindfulness, he's just checking the incense, see how far it had got down. Made it harder than before. The mind was less peaceful, more agitated than before. Even if we make a vow, I'm going to sit for a certain period of time, or say in a monastery you have a period of time for meditation, maybe with a bell at the end. If you put a time limit on it, that also can be a cause of agitation. You're just thinking, oh, so much time left. What am I going to do till the end of the session? So in a way, it's better if you can just forget about time and just start and keep coming back to the actual mechanism, the process of bringing up mindfulness, putting attention on your meditation object. If it's the breath, well, just keep coming back to that and really study and learn from the breath without thinking much about how long you're going to do it for, when you're going to be peaceful, or how long you have to put up with your agitated state of mind. But just do it and really get to know the breath. And the aim is to bring the mind to really know the breath, or to stay with the recitation of Buddha, or stay with whatever meditation object you're using, until it's really clear in the mind. And then of course the agitation will pass away, or pass away quickly, because you keep returning your attention to your meditation object. Then everything else will take second place. When you really put effort into knowing the breath, be mindful of the breath from the beginning to the middle to the end, say, then you're really observing it closely, and that's the aim. Keep your meditation object close to the mind, keep your mind close to the meditation object. Then you can learn. You can learn with the breath about the speed of your breath. You observe how maybe it changes over time, slows down, becomes more refined from a coarse breath to a refined breath. You have to work through maybe different physical sensations that come up as you put your attention on the breath. Maybe you have itches or even pains. Different sensations distract you. Again, you just have to keep coming back to the breath. And get familiar with the breath, and you'll notice how it affects your mind. If you're really becoming familiar with the whole feeling of the breath from the start to the finish, it has a very powerful calming effect on the mind. And the breath is not particularly agitating, normally speaking. Someone was saying how when you get old and your breath often is not very so strong or clear as before, you have more, maybe more phlegm or more obstructions in your breathing apparatus, or particularly if you're very, very old and very sick, so you're lying in bed, your breathing becomes quite agitated, sometimes erratic. They said, how could you do mindfulness of breathing then? If you've been practicing before, maybe for many years, and you've become used to just putting your attention on the breath, even when your breath becomes agitated through illness or old age, doesn't necessarily stop you being mindful of the breath, because you know how to do it. It's a skill that you've learned. And you can be mindful of your breathing, you just know, oh, my nose is blocked, or there's mucus or phlegm, or the lungs are not working so well, or whatever the problem is. That just becomes something you become aware of. But it doesn't necessarily stop you doing the practice. And sometimes I'm being with people right to the very end of their life, when their breath becomes very erratic and difficult right at the end, but they still make that effort to be aware of the breath. The alternative is the mind is just all over the place. If you've been practicing practicing mindfulness of breathing beforehand, then you're not really content to let your mind go all over the place, thinking all over the place. You'd rather be with a breath, however patchy or difficult it is, the whole breathing mechanism at that point. But that begins now, like when you're healthy, reasonably healthy, learning to become familiar with your breath. If you do get agitated sometimes, watching mindfulness of watching the breath, practicing mindfulness of breathing, you feel agitated. Sometimes we mistakenly blame the agitation on the breath. Or maybe it's our frustration in not being particularly aware of the breath. But that frustration has already been conditioned by previous events, maybe many totally unrelated situations and things we've been doing in our life. We have maybe a short temper or a tendency to impatience. We don't like it maybe when we can't do something we want to do. So of course, we feel frustrated. And that's where we need to be clever, be smart, and think about it and watch what's going on and be honest. And it's not really the breath is the problem. It's a tendency towards frustration, impatience, when I'm not getting what I want or I can't achieve what I want to achieve. We're bringing that state of mind, that way of thinking from other parts of our life into the meditation. So then maybe have to counter that. If you can't stay with the breath first, then remind yourself what you're doing, why. Maybe encourage yourself. Give some positive input to what you're doing. Remind yourself of different Dhamma teachings that have helped you in the past in order to help bring you back to the breath and keep going, not to give up. So it's all right, even in the middle of meditation sometimes, to consider things and review what's going on, make changes, and think about what you're doing, but with a purpose, aiming your thoughts at how to continue the meditation successfully or improve it. It's not every thought is a problem or something to be looked down on. Your thought can be a useful tool. Sometimes thought is just more like just observation of what's going on and reminding yourself or explaining to yourself as you're observing. Sometimes it's more complex than that in the course of your meditation, but you can use thought as a tool. Sometimes we can be creative, try different things. So, say with the breath, you can follow the feeling of the breath in from the nose down to the chest, down to the abdomen. Sometimes you can try changing the position where you're focusing your attention. If it's too difficult to find the breath at the tip of your nostrils, you can try at the chest or the center of your lungs. If we're honest, say we meditate for a period of time and we're finding it difficult, the mind is all over the place, we may actually not really have tried very much at all to be with the breath. We're just following the different thoughts and the moods that we're in. So sometimes we have to evaluate the kind of effort we're putting into our meditation. Sometimes we don't try very hard at all. We just have content to sit there. Let the mind do its thing, but the final result is not very satisfactory. Sometimes go the other way, we try too hard and just push. But it's too much effort. The mind can't settle down, makes us tense. Whether it's sitting or walking meditation, that's part of your reflection, is what kind of effort, what quality of effort am I putting in at this moment? Not what you did yesterday or what you hope to do tomorrow, but right now. The only way you can really improve in your meditation is by bringing up mindfulness in the present moment and full awareness or clear comprehension, and then learning. So if you do think of giving up your meditation, you have to ask yourself, well, how much have I tried? Did I even try very hard at all? Often we convince ourselves to stop. We say, well, I've been busy today, or I'm tired. We bring up a certain reasoning or excuse or whatever, and we just believe it. We don't question it. We don't check whether that's really true or whether there's any other way of looking at the situation. You just believe whatever thought comes into the mind. We're very good at that. Sometimes we have to question our own thoughts. Is it really true? Do I have to stop? Am I really that agitated or that tired or that distracted that I can't do this? We have a general goal, is that we want to bring the mind more under our control through developing mindfulness. But to get to that point, we have to learn, understand what the obstacles are, and then also apply different practices, different reflections, review what's going on, try again, keep coming back over and over again. You notice when you're doing that with the aim of training your mind in the meditation, even if your mind is still full of many different distracted thoughts, agitation, you can also maybe get to a point where you can watch what you're doing. Okay, hold thoughts in mind, those very distracted thoughts, just hold them in mind and ask yourself about them. Do I need to follow this thought? How helpful is this thought? What is this thought? How long does it last? It rises, it passes away. You can learn as you're meditating, rather than just following the habits of mind, which is what we're used to. It's like when, say, somebody first goes into the forest and they sit in the forest and there's a few insects around. Maybe your first instinct, an insect comes onto your body or a part of your body. Your first instinct is just get rid of it. Sweep it off, shake it off, get rid of it, don't want it, don't like it, maybe it'll bite me. But if you keep practicing, you keep spending time in the forest, maybe the insects are still around, but after a while you realize you can just watch them. An ant walking across your leg, or a fly or a mosquito on your hand or something. You don't have to immediately react to get rid of it or react to it in any particular way. You can just watch it. Sure, if it's going to bite you, well, maybe you shake it off, but if it's not biting you, maybe you just watch it, or you let the ant just walk across you and it goes away all by itself. With insects, often, if you don't interfere with them, quite often they'll leave you alone as well. The thoughts are much the same, aren't they? Those distracting thoughts that make us feel like, oh, I can't meditate, I can't concentrate, I can't do this, can't do that. They're much the same as an ant walking across your leg. You can actually just watch it come up, walk across, go away. In many thoughts, moods, feelings, sensations in the body, pleasure, pain, you can do like that. You're learning about it, but in a detached way, just observing without getting involved, without interfering. You have to accept many thoughts and feelings come out because of old karma. We've been living in the world a long time, so of course many things come up. But now you're learning just to be mindful And even if you can't stay with the breath very well yet, whatever's distracting you, just observe it. Oh, it's like this. Maybe notice a few aspects of that train of thought or the experience of your body, your mind at this time. You can't stop anything, but you can just observe and learn a bit about it. Often that makes it more bearable. And even sometimes we can just let go. And the mind becomes more peaceful and more, the awareness becomes stronger. This is what we call getting to know dukkha. Dukkha is to be known. As you become more detached, the dukkha may still be there, but you're just knowing it. Oh, it's like that. But you don't have to get involved with it. Like Ajahn Chah said, in the forest there's many thorns, but you don't have to go and step on them all or prick your finger with them. You just know they're there, but you don't get involved with them. If you don't get involved with them, they're not a problem. There's many thorns in your mind. Things come up. If you grab hold of them, then you become agitated, worry, angry, full of desire, discontent. If you improve this ability just to watch, return to the breath, watch, observe, then you're not necessarily having to get involved with everything. Then it becomes more pleasant, and that's why we start to relax a bit. You're not grasping hold of every thorn in your mind, or trying to shoo away every ant that walks on your leg, or every thought that comes into your mind. You're just watching and then letting go. They're less frightening, they're less annoying, disturbing. Little by little, then you have more of a feeling of contentment because you have mindfulness. You keep coming back to the breath, you know the breath more, and you're able to let go of everything else and just see it as it is, just thoughts coming and going, sensations, feelings arising, ceasing. As the Buddha said, dukkha just arises and ceases. That's what it does. But you don't have to get involved with it and create a person out of it. Make it yours, my dukkha, my mind that is thinking so much that I can't meditate. It's just what it is. It's just thoughts coming and going, feelings, sensations, memories coming and going. If you do that more, you get better at it, or maybe even more powerful, disturbing kinds of emotions that come up sometimes, triggered by different situations. Still, they're just that. Anger is just anger. Fear, just fear. Greed, desire is just that. Little by little the mind becomes more content, and there's this feeling of fullness, meaning I don't need to go chasing after everything like before. One way they describe samadhi is fullness of mind. It's full, complete. It's not hungry for more sight, sounds, taste, smell, touch, thoughts. Don't need to think about anything much at all. If thoughts come into the mind, you know them, but then you let them go because you don't need to grab hold of them or become fascinated with them or caught up in them. The mind becomes more full, more content. That's a form of happiness because you're not seeking to get involved with things so much. The mind is not going out to the world so much, to the past, the future. It's just knowing in the present more and more. And that's accompanied by feelings of certain kinds of subtle pleasure, joy, happiness. Of course, there'll always be something else that comes along to disturb the mind. It's not like you just do this once and that's the end of it. So even if you are experiencing some peace, the fullness of mind, the stillness, mindfulness is more continuous. Then something else will come along, something you'd forgotten about will bring up disturbance of mind. An old memory that brings up some attraction, some aversion, some annoyance, some disappointment, some fear, some love. A lot of it is old memories about previous experiences that you'd forgotten, but when the mind is still, then they come up, and they can still pull the mind all over the place. So you have to try again, start again. But you can keep applying the same methods that you used before. The patience, the beginner's mind coming back to the breath, observing these different feelings, emotions coming up, however strong they may be. They arise, they pass away, until you re-establish enough mindfulness to just see them as they are. They're just impermanent. When your mind is calm, then you have this ability to observe things more and even go out to investigate them, but without getting agitated. So observe the disadvantages of the things that you're attracted to, also the disadvantages of the things you suffer with, the disadvantages of anger, the disadvantages of lust and greed. To do that, you need to be relatively calm. Then you can look and see, oh, it's just that much. The pleasure you're getting caught up in that agitates you so much or makes you so hungry, it comes and goes. It's only just that much. The pain of anguish and fear, anxiety, it's suffering. Not to be dwelt on, not to be held on to. And we learn in that way. Feeling is just feeling, thoughts are thoughts, emotions are emotions. So maybe I'll leave you with these reflections tonight.